Warning NLC to proceed with today's nationwide protest. Senate to conclude ongoing ministerial screening as second list drops. President Tinubu to chair APC caucus meeting today. Court reserves judgment as presidential election petition tribunal. Businesses in Port Harcourt call for extension of CAC deadline. On the foreign scene, former US President Donald Trump charged with plotting to overturn his 2020 election defeat. Peace is the path to the prosperity of a nation. Let peace reign. I am Ifeemi Andrew. The NLC says it is not backing down on today's nationwide protest over the increase in price of petrol and other issues. In a statement he personally signed yesterday, the NLC President Joe Ajaero described reports suggesting otherwise as the handiwork of fifth columnist. He said that though it held a meeting with the federal government, the mass action will continue as earlier planned. Mr. Ajaero said President Bola Tinubu's broadcast on Monday did not address the key issues. The NLC president said the planned protest is already yielding results, as in his opinion, President Tinubu only addressed the nation in a bid to avert the protest. He also challenged the police to make sure that the planned peaceful protest is not hijacked by hoodlums. Shortly after he released the statement, NLC president appeared on Twitter to address Nigerians on this.
These are all fallacies. These are jobs, calculated attempts by fifth columnists to discredit what is called, or more or less, a credible, struggle by Nigerians. So, once again, comrades, we're on course. We're only going to urge everybody to please make sure we show civility in what we are doing. They would make every effort to provoke us, but will not be provoked. So, the NLC is clearly committed to this process. Let no one be cowed. Let no one be intimidated. We're on course.
Mr. Ajaero also said Nigerians misunderstood the call-off of their last industrial action. He said Labour only took an unconventional approach that is historic.
That action and the MOU we got was the best that has happened in the history of unionism in this country. It was the best in the sense that previous negotiations on increase on pump price of petroleum products have been hinged on when the government increases, Labour will protest and they will remove maybe 200 or 100 or 50 naira, and it has continued from the time of government. We felt we should think outside the box, and then we went out in search of an alternative to PMS.
The NLC president said Nigeria has gas deposits in abundance and a switch from petrol to compressed natural gas is necessary for the economy and cheaper.
CNG, compressed natural gas, by the time we did our pilot study in Edo, was supposed to be 90 naira per litre, and then we agreed that we to opt for the CNG, and it is a way of demolishing their constant increase in PMS. It was to bring Nigerians better than they were before the increase, and that was what we got. The people who are holding us down are all investors in the PMS business. Therefore, they will not want the CNG to succeed. In Nigeria, we have gas deposits that will last for over 500 years.
Earlier, the NLC Secretary Ima Ugbaja and TUC President Festus Osifo announced that the organized labor will meet overnight to consider whether to proceed with the planned protest. They said this at the State House in Abuja after a meeting of the Presidential Steering Committee on Palliatives. They also said while the federal government's palliatives were welcoming, they were not far-reaching. The TUC President stressed that organized labor would need to consult with unionists before midnight with a view to agreeing on the next line of action.
So we feel that it is not adequate if the government said on their own that they have saved 1 trillion naira, that we can do much more. So those were all the conversations that we have had. Then on the government part, you asked something about the protest. Yes, they also appealed that we should share the protest. Our response was that we are going to go back this evening and also have a conversation around that, and you will hear from us at the end of that conversation.
Also speaking, the Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Gbajabiamila, said deliberations were cordial and expressed belief that after listening to President Tinubu's broadcast, organized labor would avoid the planned protest.
We
we appealed to Labour. We did appeal to Labour to call up the protest for tomorrow. We found listening ears here, and they did agree that they all accepted that Mr. President's broadcast was a welcome development, and that they'll go back home to talk to the other leaders that are not present today.
Meanwhile, the chairman of the Rivers State Civil Society Organization, NFR, George Will, has called on all civil society organizations and citizens to join the NLC protest today. Mr. George Will, in an interview, said that the protest is geared towards ensuring that government reviews policies that will help curb the hardship in the country.
The Rivers State Civil Society organizations call on all well-meaning citizens, commercial drivers, car owners, business owners, and civil society groups to mobilize for the NLC protest on Wednesday, 2nd August 2023 at the Labour House, 12 Ibuku Street, Zealand, Port Harcourt by 7 a.m. The protest is to call on the federal government to, at the minimum, immediately fix our refineries and solve the electricity crisis or reverse the price of payments, otherwise known as fuel, back to 107 naira. If we don't all come out to stop the continuous increase of fuel, we will end up not being able to feed our families.
Also, the Nigeria Union of Journalists in Rivers State directed its members to join in the protest. In a statement by Secretary Ike Wigodo, members were told to gather at the Labour House, Ibuku Street, D-Line by 7 a.m. today. A similar instruction was given to their counterparts in Abuja. Instead of this, the Acting Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, warned against violent protests. Force Public Relations Officer ACP Muyiwa Adejobi said in a statement that the warning was due to the previous ugly experiences of such protests. In another development, some civil servants in the state say increasing the minimum wage without first reviewing policies that will improve the country's economic situation will result in an increase in consumption spending, which will further aggravate inflation in the country. They said this in a reaction to President Tinubu's broadcast to work in collaboration with labor unions to introduce a new national minimum wage for workers.
Increasing salary will not be solving the problem, because if they increase salary, things will go up. Let it know the price of everything down and the open border.
The most important thing we want right now is for them to look for a way to curb the hardship. They should derive any means, not about minimum wage. There are lots of people suffering. What about the masses? They should look for a way to curb it and leave it till next year, April.
The plan will be something that will take effect. It's good to be happy about it.
Not the solution, because it's not affecting the poor people. It's only for the civil servant, and we never know whether it's going to pay or not because they are politicians.
Things now cost, people cannot be able to transport everywhere. Sometimes people cannot be able to come to work because of transport. So all these things should be amended.
Staying with more reactions to the president's broadcast, some university students in Rivers State have expressed mixed views about plans by the federal government to provide palliative buses on all university campuses across the nation. Reacting to President Bola Tinubu's broadcast, some of the students said providing scholarship opportunities, repairing moribund refineries, and moderating tuition fees in universities are of more importance than the buses. Others applauded the initiative, which is aimed at reducing the effects of petrol subsidy removal.
They bring 20 buses right now and say it's free, and they increase our school fees, we'll still be in debt. So instead of buying all those buses and putting all the federal universities, let them use it and help with scholarship.
We want to bring palliative through buses. It's a nice one, and to aid or reduce our spending, and let him bring enough buses that will cover for us, not to just bring one and expect everybody to crowd in and destroy the buses.
It will be very nice, because not everybody has that strength to pay the rent transport.
The primary thing is to make sure that the refineries are working, not even the bus. How many buses is he going to bring that is going to accommodate all the students? Bringing buses for us, that's not what we want.
If you happen to say the bus will be free of charge, then there will be no need as a student when you're coming to school, you'll be waiting specifically for that bus. You just have to join the moving train in order to meet up with classes.
They also advised the president to set up a monitoring committee to ensure that palliatives are not hijacked. Away from that, President Bola Tinubu will reportedly send a new batch of ministerial nominees to the Senate for screening today. The report said the names were to come between last night and this morning. The lawmaker said the screening of the 28 nominees will be concluded today so that the next batch can be screened afterwards. President Bola Tinubu will today host former President Muhammadu Buhari, former Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, Senate President Senator Godswill Akpabio, Speaker of the House of Representatives Tajuddin Abbas, and other top members of the APC at the party's National Caucus meeting. The meeting is scheduled to be held at the new banquet hall at Presidential Villa by 6 p.m. The Presidential Election Petition Tribunal has reserved judgment in the petition of the presidential candidate of the PDP Atiku Abubakar, seeking nullification of the declaration of APC's President Tinubu as the winner of the February 25 presidential election. The chairman of the tribunal, Justice Simon Samani, while reserving judgment, said the date of its delivery will be communicated to parties in the dispute. The PDP candidate wants the tribunal to disqualify President Tinubu on the strength of the American court judgment, where he was made to forfeit $460,000 on narcotics and money laundering related offenses. Also in court yesterday was the award-winning author Chimamanda Adichie, who joined the Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi and his running mate Dati Baba Ahmed. Still to come, businesses in Port Harcourt call for extension of CAC deadline to the list companies. Stay tuned.
This world is not
Inaugurated members of its host Community Development Trust as enshrined in the Petroleum Industry Act (PIA). The Managing Director, CEO of NDPRO, Bite Falade, while performing the inauguration of the Morally Host Community Development Trust, charged them to place the interest of communities above personal interests.
What this then does is that it puts the sustainable development of your communities firmly in your hands. We as a company will continue to partner with you by establishing this trust, which we're inaugurating today. We'd like you to consider yourselves as caretakers with a duty and a mandate to sustainably develop your respective communities, not only as individual communities, but in certain cases jointly as one family for the mutual benefit of all.
On his part, the Commissioner of Chieftaincy and Community Affairs, Charles Amadi, said they will be monitored to give progress reports, and as such, they should avoid tampering with community funds.
To grab and eat. Let me tell you, it took a process for you to be here today. And those processes are the eyes that will watch you. PIA, POT, is a gradual movement to jail. If you are not here, those eyes will be coming from time to time to examine you, to see what in people with integrity, professionals. That because management committee is the engine room of whatever thing that you have to do in the development of your community.
Also speaking, Ezekweye Lugbo III, Kelvin Anugo, advised members of the Development Trust to ensure they unite to develop their respective communities.
That we can as well, because if we don't monitor the procedures, there may be lapses in some areas. After inaugurations today, see yourself at the light of your community. If the community is in darkness, you will be held responsible, because they will ask you, what did you use our community money for? And I used to tell your people too, not all what the trustees recommend is what you do. So you will also have a team to synergize.
Correspondent Sohibi Oruwari reports that one of the members of the Morali Host Community Development Trust promised that they will always give feedback to their communities and are open for collective development of the areas. Royal fathers such as the Oda Abuam King Kale Obuge, former members of the NDPR Development Trust, representatives of Auda East, Emoha and Abua Odwa Local Government Council Chairman, and captains of industry, among others, attended the inauguration yesterday. APC governorship candidate in the last election in Rivers State, Tonye Cole, appeared in court yesterday as a star witness in the petition he filed against the winner of the election and the PDP candidate, Governor Siminalayi Fubara. PDP lawyers cross-examined him. The former governor of Rivers State and minister-designate Nyesom Wike was also in court to witness proceedings. Away from that, the Corporate Affairs Commission CAC office in Takot wears an unsettling silence for a commission that has set a strict 90-day deadline from July 31 to October for business owners to file their annual returns or be delisted. Recall that the CAC had said that over 90,000 businesses have failed to submit their annual reports for the past 10 years. A statement by the Commission had said the names of the companies to be struck off have been published on the Commission's website. Once struck off, a company will be legally prohibited from carrying on business unless it obtains a formal restoration order from the Federal High Court. Our correspondent visited the Port Harcourt office of the CAC and reports seeing no one there. Meanwhile, some owners of registered businesses in Port Harcourt say they are not unaware of the CAC notice. The business owners called for an extension of the deadline, citing current economic challenges that businesses are facing.
My first time of hearing it. I've been doing business. I don't think a lot of people are aware. Not just only that they should increase the time, also they should create more awareness so that we that are own business be able to the time or do what they ask us.
This number of days is not enough to me for people to be able to know. And you are talking about delisting somebody's business name. How far have they gone to let people know? Because there may be people that their businesses are so small, and most of the time the businesses they do does not have to do with LPO, local protest organizations from the country. So how do they reconcile?
My business na small business I registered since 2007. I don't know it's in the annual report. I just registered now for taking for bank. I don't even get it for they take do all those things. I take God beg now. I don't remove my business name.
Business expert Mercy Bello Abu also spoke on this.
There's no ignorance in law. So they are not even aware that you need to file. So you need to know that registering your company is not enough. You need to follow up. So check your status now. So when you Google your company, there's a registration and your portal, and you see that your name is not there. You check what you need to do. Fantastic 3 months is okay to create that awareness. Don't just say it from the pages of newspaper thinking that the people are aware. They need to do their due diligence. They need to spend more on information, keep talking about it. Definitely they are going to extend it.
Former Governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, and 3 members of his integrity group of former governors made the Bayelsa Campaign Council list of the PDP. In a statement signed by the National Public Secretary, Debo Ologunagba, the National Working Committee of the PDP released the membership of the Bayelsa State National Campaign Council for the upcoming election in the state. Others on the list are former Governor of Benue State, Samuel Otom, former Abia State Governor Okezie-Ekpe Azu, and former Governor of Enugu State Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi. Recall that former Governor Wike was nominated among President Bola Tinubu's ministerial list 5 days ago. In other news, it's World Breastfeeding Week, and a pediatrician, Wuroma Wonodi, is calling on employers to allow breastfeeding in the workplace. Dr. Wonodi, who is a consultant pediatrician at the River State University Hospital, said this in an interview with our correspondent.
Employers need to make the workplaces safer, cleaner for everybody. There are also economic benefits. We spend less on treating sick children, and we also save foreign exchange. Nigeria needs it more than ever. And of course, employer, when you make an adequate provision for breastfeeding, it is an investment in the health of the present and the future workforce. Remember, today's babies are tomorrow's workforce.
Another pediatrician, Dr. Tamino Iyowuna Okari, spoke on the benefits of exclusive breastfeeding.
Breast milk is the most appropriate food for a newborn child, as it provides all the nutritional needs the child will require, and in addition to protecting that child from disease and also from death. Besides, breastfeeding has also been shown to be beneficial not just to the child but to the mother, to the family, and to the society at large. Studies have shown that consequences of suboptimal nutrition in childhood could result into malnutrition.
World Breastfeeding Week is held in the first week of August every year. This year's theme is Let's Make Breastfeeding and Work Work. It focuses on promoting practices that can help support workplace-related breastfeeding in different countries.
And now, we bring you news from around the world.
Former U.S. President Donald Trump has been charged with plotting to overturn his 2020 election defeat. He is accused of 4 counts, including conspiracy to defraud the U.S., tampering with a witness, and conspiracy against the rights of citizens.
This is the news on 92.3 Nigeria Info.
On the news this morning, you heard that the NLC is set to proceed with today's nationwide protest. The Senate is expected to conclude the ongoing ministerial screening today as the second list dropped. President Tinubu is to chair the APC caucus meeting today. A court has reserved judgment at the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal. Businesses in Port Harcourt are calling for extension of the CAC deadline to delist companies yet to file their annual returns. On the foreign scene, former U.S. President Donald Trump has been charged with plotting to overturn his 2020 election defeat. The news was edited by Choma Ezema. Cloudy weather is expected in Port Harcourt this morning. Peace is the path to the prosperity of a nation. Let peace reign. My name is Ifeemi Andrew. Good morning.